This is Garrett Monroe, broadcasting live on a cobbled-together shortwave rig from a fallout shelter 2 stories beneath downtown Houston. The station's designation is arbitrary now. There's no official frequency left to follow. I've patched this through an old emergency ham setup running off solar backup and deep cycle batteries salvaged from a collapsed Tesla dealership off Louisiana Street. If you're hearing this, you're alive. That's more than I can say for most. I'm a former field correspondent for the Houston Chronicle. I covered hurricanes, refinery leaks, and once a Category 4 that tore up Galveston so bad the dead floated all the way to the Strand. But this is different. What's happening now is not natural, not weather, not war. I've got a map of the Gulf Coast pinned to the wall behind me. Pushpins mark confirmed extraction sites, places where the beams touch down. Corpus Christi, Baton Rouge, 3 separate sites around Lake Charles. I've updated them in red whenever I confirm the city's been emptied. Not bombed emptied, no fire, no rubble, just gone. Smooth circular craters where life used to be. Now let me take you back. April 11th, 2025. We were still trying to understand what we were looking at. The first ships appeared over Freeport around 6:37 p.m. local time, hovering above the Dow chemical plant. A colleague of mine, Marcus Reyes, snapped the first close-range image. Giant saucers, jet black, with soft green bioluminescent rings on their underside. They looked like something between aircraft and ocean creatures. They didn't make a sound. Not a whisper of jet wash, no engine noise, just the air pressure around them dropping like a sudden storm. Marcus's final report mentioned a single detail that still chills me. The scent of salt water in the air. Miles inland, but everything smelled like the sea. I was near Baytown when the second wave arrived. At first, we thought it was a power grid failure. Lights flickered, substations blew, and every gas station from Highway 90 to I-10 went dark. Then came the light columns, what most survivors call the green beams. But let me be clear, these weren't beams. They weren't made of light in any spectrum we recognized. I tried capturing them on a Nikon D850 with full spectrum infrared. Nothing. The sensors couldn't register them. Only when I switched to a handheld Geiger counter did I get something. Micropulses, not radiation, but frequency-based discharges. They weren't scanning. They were extracting. Within 6 minutes, the refinery off Lynchburg Ferry was gone. Not destroyed, drained. Like the land beneath it had been liquefied and pulled upward, molecule by molecule. A slurry of soil, steel, and biomass rose into the ships above, funneled like mist through some inverted gravitational force. We watched buildings unravel from their base. People, too, lifted gently into the air, limp, soundless, like dust motes in reverse. That night I lost my brother. Evan was a tech with the Houston Fire Department. He'd rigged a portable drone with FLIR imaging to monitor the situation near Buffalo Bayou. His last transmission was 11:14 p.m., a whisper over emergency frequency 122.9 megahertz. He said, "They're not attacking us. We're just in the way." That stuck with me. Because by the second day, it was clear they didn't care if we lived or died. There were no demands, no warnings, no contact. This wasn't War of the Worlds. This was a resource harvest, and we were part of the biomass. By April 13th, over half of southeast Texas was in blackout. FEMA staging areas in San Antonio and Austin were overwhelmed. The 147th Attack Wing out of Ellington Field scrambled F-16S. I watched one pilot fly straight into a ship above Pasadena. No contact. The moment he crossed that green veil, the jet froze midair, disintegrated outward like powder, and vanished. We didn't get wreckage. We didn't even get a sound. Just the vacuum silence of something unnatural removing mass from our world. You might be wondering what the aliens look like. That word, alien, feels so small now, so terrestrial. 3 days into the invasion, I saw one. It wasn't in a ship, it was on foot. April 14th. South Loop near the old Astrodome. The stadium had become an impromptu refugee hold for about 400 people. I was trying to reach it when I caught sight of something in the mist, tall, about 7 feet, humanoid but impossibly smooth. No hair. Its skin was pale gray-green, like dried seaweed. And its face. God, its face. It had no mouth, just ridges where lips might be, black, bulbous eyes like obsidian wet with oil, and where a nose and chin should have been, tendrils, thin, twitching, breathing like gills. It didn't look at me. It just walked past a burning car like it wasn't there. It wasn't armed. It didn't need to be. A boy ran out of a building, maybe 10, covered in soot. The creature paused, raised its long hand, and the air shimmered. No light, no weapon. Just distortion, like heat on asphalt. The boy crumpled mid-step like something had turned his bones to liquid. Then the creature moved on. I didn't breathe for almost a minute. So here's what we know so far. As of today, April 21st, the invaders are not communicating. Their extraction beams don't obey gravity, light, or known physics. They appear to be harvesting resources, geothermal, mineral, and biological. Human resistance has been ineffective. Conventional weapons, electronic disruption, even EMP bursts, none have worked. Survivors are fleeing north, but major exits like I-45 and US 59 have been bottlenecked or absorbed. The largest extraction zone now stretches from Galveston Bay to Lake Livingston. This station, this voice, is all I can offer now. If you're out there listening, you are not alone. More broadcasts to come. Hold fast. This is Garrett Monroe. If you're still tuned to this frequency, you're already one of the lucky ones. Or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. I promised I'd keep broadcasting as long as I could. I'm still here, still breathing, still transmitting. It's the night of April 22nd. The green beams have shifted. Not just in location, but in behavior. They've started to pulse. At first, I thought it was a visual glitch, interference from the haze or the storm front rolling in from the Gulf. But then I measured it. Every 7 seconds, each column of extraction light flickers in the same rhythmic pattern. On, off, like a heartbeat, like breathing. I'm beginning to think this isn't just a machine at work. This is something alive. Not the ships themselves, no, they're far too stable, too symmetrical. But the process, the action of draining Earth, it might be biological. A few hours ago, I made contact with someone. I haven't heard another live voice in over 36 hours. Her name is Naomi Fisher. She was a researcher at Rice University's Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences. She's holed up in the basement of the Biosciences Research Building. Used to teach courses on tectonics and subduction zones. Now she's watching Houston vanish street by street through a cracked window and a gas mask. We kept the conversation short, encrypted over an old Motorola long-wave rig. She said the green beams aren't just hitting surface-level targets anymore. They're tunneling, mapping fault lines, tapping into the magma chambers near the edge of the balcony's fault zone. They're bleeding the planet dry, she told me. They're pulling the mantle up through the crust. That's not conquest, that's consumption. And then she went quiet. Not a disconnect, just quiet. I don't know if she's still alive. I've moved to a lower level of the shelter tonight. The upper floor ceiling buckled earlier this evening. Not from impact, from pressure. Everything above me flexed like it was under the weight of an invisible tide. The air itself felt heavier. I've wrapped the shelter's air intake vents in mylar foil and gutted old servers to scavenge for copper shielding. It won't stop anything serious, but maybe it'll slow down whatever frequency they're using to scan, because I know now we're being watched. Not just seen, observed. I keep catching strange reflections on the backup monitors. Shadows that don't move with the light source. Sometimes I hear clicking in the walls like an old hard drive cycling endlessly. But there's no power upstairs. Hasn't been in days. I've heard some of you might still be broadcasting low-frequency Morse, bursts of AM analog. If that's true, keep trying. I scan when I can. I log everything I pick up. A few call signs have repeated. Someone from a Red Cross outpost near Tyler. A priest near Shreveport. A nurse out of Lafayette, who only identifies herself as Daisy. Their voices crackle, then vanish. The ships are moving inland, slowly, methodically. It's like watching tectonic plates shift in real time, unstoppable, impassive. They don't chase, they arrive, like they've already calculated where every drop of usable material lies. And we're the sludge in the pipeline, just so much carbon and protein to be filtered and funneled. There's something else, something I haven't told you yet. On the morning of April 18th, before I lost contact with the last U.S. Air Force relay, I received an intercepted transmission. Not from the aliens, from our own side. It was marked as Tier 4 clearance, routed from Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado Springs. It was short, just a line of text buried in an outdated spectrum. Extraction directive confirmed. Secondary protocols canceled. Species tolerance non-essential. That last line kept me up for nights. Species tolerance non-essential. It means they knew. Someone knew. The wording isn't accidental. That's not how military writes when it's confused. That's how it writes when a threshold's been crossed. It began under our feet, months, maybe years before the ships arrived. We just didn't know where to look. The Greenland borehole, the one they sealed in 2223, it went dark after hitting an unexpected layer of pressurized liquid carbon. They logged it as non-viable for research and shut it down. But 2 of the scientists involved went missing, and their last journal entry, it mentioned frequency anomalies deep in the rock. Tones, patterns. You're probably wondering how deep this rabbit hole goes. So am I. I keep circling the same question. Why now? Why appear so openly? Why harvest so aggressively? Here's what I think. This isn't a raid. This is a deadline. Something triggered the timeline. Maybe human mining activities reached a critical threshold. Maybe atmospheric contamination altered the biome in ways that made Earth's resources ripe. Maybe this was always the plan, and we just hit the expiration date. You may laugh or cry or sit in silence as I say this, but I'll say it anyway. We were never alone, and we were never sovereign. We were a crop, and harvest season came early. I'm going to keep the generator running tonight. Rationing has me down to 2 cans of Spam and a dwindling jug of water. Still have backup filtration, still have solar, still have enough signal to reach 20 miles, maybe 40 if the sky stays clear. If you're in range, broadcast something. Anything. A name, a time, a location. Let someone know you're still here. This is Garrett Monroe, signing off from what's left of downtown Houston. I'll be back tomorrow, if I'm still here. And hello again. This is Garrett Monroe, transmitting again from the basement of the Chronicle building, what's left of it. April 23rd, still in Houston, still alive. The streets are empty now. No sirens, no engines, no screaming. It's quieter than death out there, but not peaceful. It's the kind of quiet that hums in your teeth, like a pressure wave just beneath the surface of the world. I think the city is hollowing out from below. I can feel it in the soles of my boots. The ground's different, thinner, lighter, like everything's floating a little off its axis. I ventured out at dawn. Had to. Supplies were low. I made it 5 blocks north toward the University of Houston campus before I saw them again, the ships. 3 of them, triangular formation, hovering low near McGregor Park. Still no sound, no heat distortion. Just that green extraction pulse cycling every 7 seconds. On, off, like it's breathing through the earth. One ship had already drained half the bayou. Trees, soil, sewage lines, all pulled straight into the core of its underbelly, like a gaping wound eating the ground alive. What it left behind was wrong. The crater wasn't just a pit. It shimmered, like oil on water, colors flickering under the surface, moving against the wind. I didn't get closer, but I saw something rise from it. It wasn't one of the tall ones. This thing was shorter, thicker, still bipedal, but hunched. Face like the others. Black, glass eyes. The same faced tentacles. But its skin was patterned, almost armored. It climbed out of the crater and stopped, like it was smelling the air. Then it let out a short pulse, like sonar. Click, click, click. It echoed across the collapsed street, and that's when I heard the answer. Another click, then another, from behind buildings, from the trees, from underground. They're not just observing anymore. They're coordinating. I turned back, didn't look behind me, ran with my hand on the radio mic the whole way. I've barricaded the stairwell to the shelter. 3 layers of office furniture and a metal support beam from the old printing press. Won't stop anything serious, but maybe it'll buy me 30 seconds if one of them tries to come through. Maybe that's all I'll need. Before I left the surface, I tuned into Noah's last automated relay from Galveston. The signal was breaking down, looping the same message over and over. Atmospheric pressure. Irregularities. Detected. Ion density at 540%. Global wind circulation collapsing. Magnetic deviation confirmed. Possible pole shift in progress. That was 3 days ago. If the poles are shifting, if they're draining Earth's magnetic core as part of this process, we're looking at the death of the planet in more ways than one. Not just biologically, not just socially, but geophysically. The sky itself could collapse. Naomi? Remember the geologist I mentioned? She got one last message through to me on a burst relay this morning. I had to manually decode it using an old Bodo reader and a portable spectrogram analyzer. Here's what she said. Garrett, they're using the planet like a battery, and we're the acid. She traced the beam pattern across a chain of known tectonic fractures. The beams don't land randomly. They're following seismic lines, draining stress points, fissures, hydrothermal vents. It's like they're reverse engineering plate tectonics for extraction, undoing millions of years of pressure for what? Energy? Transport fuel? Raw materials for their own world? Or maybe they're terraforming. Replacing Earth's composition with something more compatible for them, making it a kind of organic farm for their species. One where the crops are planet-sized. I wish that theory were the worst I've heard. It's not. There's a voice I pick up sometimes. It doesn't have a call sign, doesn't speak English. Sounds like it's being modulated through bone instead of speakers. The language is full of clicks and vowelless distortions. But every time it comes on, my ears ache, my molars throb. The dogs in this neighborhood, what's left of them, howl when it plays. Once I played it back through a frequency visualizer just out of curiosity. It formed a spiral. Perfect. Symmetrical. Fibonacci. Language, math, and biology all fuse into one form of communication. They're not just more advanced. They are precision incarnate. I think we're being cataloged. Not just extracted, but recorded. Like books before a library fire. I've lost count of how many people are left. The last drone footage I got access to, taken over Baton Rouge, showed the entire downtown submerged in that green mist. No vehicles, no movement, no bodies. Just grid patterns of roads, unbroken, as if everyone had simply stepped away. There was one thing, though, a symbol burned into the asphalt. Perfect circle, crossed with lines, 4 spines around its edge, like a compass. Or a crop circle, maybe a warning, maybe a claim. That's what I think's happening here. We were claimed. Not in some grand, cinematic, fireworks in the sky sort of way. No speeches, no monologues, just efficiency. One species harvesting another. Like the tuna we pull from oceans. Like the forests we level. Like the lithium we scrape from deserts. Now it's our turn. And the worst part? We never had a choice. We never saw it coming. Because we never looked up. I'm still alive for now. Still transmitting. My signal strength's been degrading. Some kind of ion interference in the upper atmosphere. But if you're hearing this, I've shifted to 1040 kHz AM. I'll keep changing as needed to avoid detection. If you're out there, if you're human, record this. Store it. Play it again. Let the next soul know what happened here, so we're not just another vanished species in their long, clean ledger. This is Garrett Monroe, broadcasting from beneath what used to be Houston, April 24th. If you're hearing this, then somehow my rig still works, and you're still alive. That's something. That's a miracle now. I didn't sleep last night. Something moved above me. Not the ships, something on foot. It passed over the street grates around 3:40 a.m. I shut off the ventilation fans and listened through the ceiling like I was underwater. I could hear it. Wet, deliberate steps. Not heavy, not rushed, just intentional. It stopped near the stairwell I sealed with office chairs and fireproof cabinets. Then it tapped 3 times. Not banging, not breaking in. Just a slow, rhythmic tap, like it knew I was here and wanted me to know it knew. Then silence. I didn't breathe for a full minute, just watched the LED on the recorder blink, waiting to die. It didn't return, at least not yet. I checked the airlock camera this morning. It's a grainy black and white feed powered by an ancient solar rig, but there was a shape on screen for 5 frames, then static. It looked like a human silhouette at first, tall, thin, but too smooth, too symmetrical. It bent at a strange angle, like its joints weren't placed like ours. The image corrupted halfway through, and when I replayed it, the signal pulsed. Audio distortion. The same pulse pattern as the extraction beams. Whatever they are, they're broadcasting constantly. Maybe to each other, maybe to the ships, maybe even through the planet itself. I've stopped calling them aliens. That word doesn't carry the right weight anymore. These aren't invaders from another star. They're something older, something that's been here before, or always. There's a theory I've been piecing together. Bits from Naomi's transmissions, old geological surveys, and ancient mapping data. It sounds insane, but bear with me. Indeed, every place that's been hit hardest, Houston, Galveston, Baton Rouge, the Marcellus shale fields, they all align with known deposits of rare earth metals or high geothermal activity. Not just surface value resources. We're talking deep crust access points, places of planetary vulnerability. It's like they already knew where to go. Not guessed, not scouted. Knew. How? Because maybe they've done this before. Maybe Earth wasn't the first world they bled dry. Maybe this is what they do. Find habitable planets, wait until the biomass peaks, then return to collect what they seeded millennia ago. Like farmers rotating crops across lifetimes. Which means we're not the beginning. We're just as cycles yield. I spoke to another survivor today. Her name's Imani Chen. She was a systems engineer with the Johnson Space Center, one of the few who didn't evacuate when the base was abandoned. She cracked an encrypted packet of deep space radio logs from the Voyager relays before they lost contact. You won't believe this. Voyager 2 received a narrow-band signal in 2019, encoded in a format not native to our systems. The engineers dismissed it as stellar interference, but Imani found a pattern, pulsed in intervals that matched the beam cycles we're seeing now. The message? 3 glyphs. One was a spiral. One was a triangle with internal notches. The third looked exactly like the symbol I saw burned into the streets of Baton Rouge. Imani thinks it wasn't a signal from the aliens. It was a signal to wake them up. Maybe we triggered something. Maybe deep drilling or EM field tests or HARP or something else we thought was just science. We hit a button we didn't know existed. And they came back. Worse, maybe they never left. I have to believe we weren't completely blind. I have to believe someone knew. Because last night I found an old Department of Energy map in the Chronicle's archives. It was buried in a folder marked for disposal. Operation Cobalt Lance, dated 1996, a contingency plan drafted under Clinton's administration for planetary-scale event response. The maps matched the current extraction sites, not approximately, perfectly. They had this charted almost 30 years ago. They knew where the harvesting would start, and they planned to respond with nuclear force, targeted surface detonations to collapse extraction zones and destabilize alien entry points. The plan was never authorized. The margin of error was deemed too great. Risk to civilians, 100%. So they buried it. Did nothing. And now here we are. I keep watching the sky through my only open air shaft. It's faint, but you can see them. Those black silhouettes of ships hanging there, unmoving, like gods waiting for tribute. Every once in a while, the sky flickers green like a heartbeat, and I wonder if this planet's last breath will come with no sound. Just silence, then a flash, then nothing. But I'm not giving up yet. I've retuned my rig, boosted the antenna using copper wire wrapped around an old office filing cabinet. It's crude, but I'm hitting 40 miles now on clear nights. If anyone's still out there, transmit anything. Pulse a light, use Morse, tape a message to a crow if you have to. Don't go silent. Not yet. Because even if this is the end, we have the right to record it, to document it, to own it. Even if we go down as dust, we leave echoes behind. This is Garrett Monroe, still beneath Houston, still speaking, still human. April 25th. If you're alive and listening, hold on. This is not a rescue. This is a record. I don't know how long I can keep sending this out, but if you hear my voice, log it. Burn it into whatever tech still runs. Even if the world ends, truth shouldn't vanish with it. I left the shelter again this morning. I didn't want to, but the food situation's getting desperate. I rationed a can of beans last 36 hours, and the water filters are barely keeping up with the dust clogging the vents. The city's air isn't air anymore. It's like breathing a powdered metal, tastes coppery, sharp. My lungs ache constantly, and my eyes won't stop watering. I took the side stairwell toward the Chronicle's underground parking ramp, crossed through the collapsed subway station beneath Capitol Street. That's when I saw them again. 3 of them. Not ships, walkers, on foot. These weren't the tall, smooth ones I saw before. They were smaller, shorter than me, but they moved like insects, 4 limbs, reverse-jointed legs, pale green skin with a shimmer like fish scales, their heads tilted in small, rapid jerks like they were calibrating their perception over and over again. Each had a black panel embedded in the chest, pulsing, not just light. It looked like something inside was moving. I swear I saw fluid circulating beneath the glass. They weren't harvesting. They were mapping. One of them stopped near a collapsed SUV. It knelt, if that's the word, and began placing small devices along the pavement, triangular pieces like resin teeth. As soon as it placed the last one, the air shimmered between them. A field formed. No color, just distortion. And then, the road below cracked. The concrete pulled upward like clay sucked through a straw. I watched from behind a rusted steel beam, hardly breathing. They weren't just harvesting materials. They were reprogramming the Earth's crust. These things aren't working off instinct. They're using math, precision, intelligence beyond anything we've modeled. It's like watching engineers deconstruct a machine they built a million years ago and now want back. There's no panic in their movements, no rush. They move like time doesn't apply to them. When they were done, they turned their heads in unison, toward me. They didn't chase. They didn't call out. They just watched. I ran. Back through the collapsed tunnel, down into the Chronicle basement, slammed the hatch, sat there in the dark with a crowbar in one hand and the recorder in the other. I waited almost 3 hours before I moved again. They didn't follow. They didn't need to. They know where I am now. They let me see them. I think they want me to keep broadcasting, not to warn others, but to narrate the end, to document the extinction, like it's part of the ritual, part of the directive. That phrase again, extraction directive. I found it printed on another file today, this one from a Defense Advanced Research Projects memo. I broke into the Chronicle's sealed archives to dig it up. The document was stamped Project Silence, inactive, since 2005. The memo detailed atmospheric anomalies recorded over Sudan, Chile, and beneath the Antarctic ice shelf. The files noted sudden drops in local magnetic fields, vibrational tremors at non-seismic intervals, identical to what we're seeing now. But the term that caught my eye? Planetary extraction. Hypothetical event series, HES-13. Non-terrestrial origin. Directive classification confirmed. It was never hypothetical. They just stopped reporting it. Someone buried this. Someone in power knew what was coming and chose to do nothing. Because we weren't the objective. We were the side effect. A layer between them and what they really wanted. The planet itself. And that's the part no one prepared for. Not the media, not the scientists, not the militaries, not even the conspiracy theorists who spent years obsessing over the idea of alien contact, always imagining flashing skies, spiraling saucers, or metallic cities parked over Capitol buildings. We wrote stories. We made movies. We drafted legislation in secret rooms for threats we couldn't define. But in every version of our imagined first contact, there was one constant. They would care about us. Whether as invaders or observers, benefactors or monsters, they would recognize us, acknowledge us, speak to us, engage. Because in our arrogance, we thought that our sentience, was the rarest thing in the universe. That even in the face of superior intelligence, our uniqueness would matter. Our minds, our stories, our pain, something would matter. But that's not what came. They didn't ask anything. They didn't land and offer treaties, didn't carve messages in the cornfields or hover over monuments. They didn't attack our armies, cripple our satellites, or hack our defenses. There were no warnings, no demands, no curiosity, just arrival and the beginning of extraction. Because they don't want us. They never did. They want Earth's core, its heat, its minerals, its magnetic alignment, the layered rotational forces that keep our orbit clean and our sky blue. That's what they're here for, the planet's function, not its features. The planet is an engine to them, not a home, a power source, not a biosphere. They want its energy, its mass, the very fuel that makes a planet spin. And when they're finished, when the last drop of geothermal pressure is drained, when the magnetic field collapses and the crust buckles in on itself, there will be nothing left but a drifting shell, cold, lightless, sterile. Not a scorched battlefield or a colonized outpost, not even wreckage to study. Just a husk, a discarded rind. The same way we leave behind dead batteries in drawers, toss fruit peels into compost. Strip copper wiring from abandoned buildings. There's no malice, no hatred, just process. A procedure perfected across time we can't even measure. I still cling to the idea that there are survivors out there, somewhere beyond the glow. Pockets of people buried deep underground, isolated researchers in bunkers, a lone radio operator clinging to his mic in the Appalachians, a family in a lead-lined silo on the edge of the Cascades. Not everyone could have been taken. Not yet. Not everyone. Imani Fisher is, or was, one of them. Her last message came across a broken VLF band barely strong enough to reach me. Faint, filtered through static, like her voice was coming up through the ocean floor. She said she was heading east, away from the collapsing grid, toward the old SETI facility in Mississippi, the Allen Array. She believed its satellite dish, over 300 feet wide, could be repurposed. If she could get the old servo motors working, redirect the dish, override the signal limiters, she thought she might be able to bounce a narrowband transmission far beyond low orbit, maybe beyond the system. She didn't think it would reach the harvesters. That wasn't her goal. She wanted someone else to hear it. Someone beyond this fleet, beyond this operation. Another species. Another intelligence. Not part of the directive. She believed there had to be something more out there. Something that cares. She said it so simply in her last message. Someone might be listening, Garrett. Someone who still sees life as sacred. Who still remembers what it feels like to lose something small. Her voice cracked on the word small. I haven't heard from her since. I want to believe her. I want to believe that in all the vast emptiness, not every mind is cold. That intelligence doesn't have to mean indifference. That somewhere beyond these black ships and pulsing beams there's a species that mourns, that stops, that notices when a world goes quiet. Because what are we, really, if we're the only ones who care we're dying? That's the truth that haunts me more than the machines or the beams or the mist overhead. That no one out there will even mark our passing. That we'll vanish without ripple, without record. Just one more extraction logged in a ledger, too old for us to understand. But I won't let it be that clean. Not if I can help it. That's why I'm still broadcasting. Why I've recorded every frequency I can intercept. Every shift in air pressure. Every echo of a voice that isn't mine. I document. I name. I speak. Because even if the end is inevitable, silence is not. If you're hearing this, if you're out there, understand this isn't desperation. It's resistance. The quiet kind. The kind that outlasts. Because even if our planet is drained, even if our oceans rise into the sky and our soil turns to ash, someone will find these words someday, and they will know we were not just taken. April 26th. No one's answered my signal in 2 days. The relay used to blink every few hours, weak bursts, unknown call signs, Morse pulses too faint to translate. That's gone now. Just dead air and the occasional pulse from the alien frequencies. Even static feels like company now. I don't know how much longer I'll last down here. The solar rig is holding barely, but power cycles are dropping. Battery degradation, maybe dust buildup on the panels. I'm rationing juice. Lights stay off unless I'm transmitting. Fans are intermittent. Water's being filtered through activated charcoal, which I scraped from a pile of burned-out server towers. It's working, I think. I'm still upright, still breathing. I've started hearing things. Not hallucinations, I don't think so. Sounds in the air ducts. Whispers carried through copper. Not voices I can understand, more like syllables spoken underwater. Once I caught my own name. I hadn't said it out loud. The radio was off, but I heard it. Garrett. Soft, drawn out, pulled like breath through broken glass. I haven't mentioned this before, but I keep records. Not just audio. I've been scribbling on old ledger paper from the newsroom upstairs. Maps, patterns, notes from the broadcasts, coordinates, beam intervals, extraction zones, and drawings, reproductions of the symbols I've seen. They're repeating across the harvest sites. Some appear in the soil, others are imprinted on glass, heat warped into car windshields. Always the same geometry, the spiral, the triangle, the ring of 4 points. I've matched them to magnetic poles, to mineral belts, to geothermal wells. And now something stranger. Each of these symbols corresponds to ancient carvings found on every continent. Not figuratively, literally. I pulled satellite overlays from a dusty terminal I rigged to a local cache, old NASA topo scans, historical mapping data, even the aerial photos from decades ago. The spiral is in Nazca, the triangle in Siberian permafrost, the 4-point circle, almost an exact match to stone markings in Sudan, dated to pre-dynastic times. The aliens didn't bring these symbols with them. They left them here, long ago. This isn't just an invasion, it's a return. The extraction directive isn't a decision. It's a cycle, a scheduled event written into the planet's long-term geology. We weren't caught off guard because of ignorance. We were just the temporary noise in a much older pattern. I haven't seen the sun in days. The sky above Houston is a permanent cloud now, gray-green and thick like old oil. I climbed to the roof yesterday just to feel open air. Everything was coated in dust, ash, crushed concrete, carbon residue, but not scorched. No heat damage, no flames. Just compression, like the atmosphere itself is collapsing. That's what I think is coming next. Atmospheric implosion. You drain a planet's core, you lose electromagnetic protection, you lose wind, you lose weather. Then comes collapse. Sky folds in, oceans stop moving. The surface freezes or boils depending on tilt and sun proximity. Either way, it's not survivable. I checked this city perimeter one last time. Drones, sensors, static relays. It's all gone. Nothing's moving beyond I-610. The outer highways are empty. No lights, no signal, no signs of military. The bases are dark. The last convoy that left from Fort Polk never made it up across the state line. I heard their last broadcast. Ground rupture, beneath unit, contact lost, sound everywhere. Then silence. Sound. That's the other thing. Their beams don't just extract mass, they create vibrations. Deep, low-frequency tones you don't hear as much as feel. They resonate through your bones. I've recorded some of them, played them back on low gain. They're not random. There's a rhythm to them, like a lullaby written in the voice of a collapsing planet. I sent a sample to Amani before she went dark. She messaged back one word: intentional. It's communication. Not for us, for the planet. Or whatever intelligence remains buried beneath the crust. The idea won't leave my head. What if Earth itself isn't just rock and water and metal? What if it once held consciousness? What if the aliens aren't just harvesting us, but silencing something? A mind. A memory. A threat. I've started dreaming again. Long, flickering dreams that feel more like broadcasts. I see the same image over and over. A burning spiral in a sky that doesn't belong to Earth. Red oceans. Black trees. Four-legged things moving in unison. And above them, something enormous. Suspended in clouds, its face hidden in light. The same face I see reflected in every puddle left behind by the beam craters. I don't know if I'm losing my grip, or if I'm finally tuning into the same wavelength. My voice is the only one I've heard in 3 days. I repeat that not for drama, but for record. 3 days. No human voices. No responders, no feedback. Just the alien pulses, the clicks, the rhythmic hum of the machines doing their work. They don't fear us. They don't even hate us. They erase us the way you'd wipe condensation off a mirror, mechanically, without emotion. There's a final phase coming. I can feel it. The beams are accelerating. Less delay between pulses. They're hitting deeper, wider areas now. Full cities are vanishing without impact or noise, just a flash of light in a circular crater. Baton Rouge, Jackson, Mobile, gone in seconds. No sound, just data erased. I think Houston's next. And I'm still here. Still speaking. Still human. Even if there's no one left to hear me. End of transmission. This is Garrett Monroe, April 27th. I've been awake 38 hours straight. There's a sound in the walls I can't drown out anymore. Not scratching, not movement. A tone, constant, low. Like feedback from an old microphone looped through concrete. It vibrates my molars, makes the inside of my skull feel swollen. No matter how far I move from the air shafts, I still feel it. It's not just in the walls anymore. It's in the ground. I've lost most contact with the outside. The only frequency I can still catch is the alien pulse. It's everywhere now. All bands, AM, FM, UHF, even inside closed circuits, the pattern never changes. 7-second intervals, a low pitch drop, then a brief harmonic echo. That echo's growing longer. I've started to think it isn't just mechanical. It's a countdown, not to an end, but to a transformation. I took another trip to the surface yesterday. The buildings are intact, but wrong. Shells. Hollow. Windows melted around the edges. Streets flattened by force that didn't burn or blast, just compressed. Like something above pressed its weight down evenly across entire blocks. Cars crushed without impact. Trees bent, not broken, as if gravity changed directions for 5 seconds, then stopped again. There, I saw a man walking through the intersection at Ruskin, Maine. Or I thought it was a man. The closer I got, the less sense it made. His movements were smooth, too smooth. No stutter, no bounce. His body shifted rhythmically, like it was imitating walking, not doing it. His arms hung stiff at his sides, but the joints were wrong. The elbows bent a little too far. The knees didn't swing out at all. I called out. Nothing. He turned. But the face. It was skin. Human. But his eyes were not. Just two black sockets, glossy, unblinking. He opened his mouth, but the sound wasn't speech. It was the same pulse I'd been hearing through the air, a raw broadcast pushed through human flesh. He was wearing a NASA flight jacket, the old kind, dust-covered, name patch, torn off. I stepped back. He didn't follow. Just watched me for a moment, then walked behind a shattered storefront and disappeared. That's the part no one would believe if anyone were left to listen. They're not just taking us. They're rebuilding us. Our dead, maybe even our living, are being repurposed, not as slaves, not as weapons, as beacons, vessels that transmit their pattern, their signal, through biology. I don't know how many of us have already been overwritten. How many voices I've picked up that weren't human anymore. That's the worst part of being alone in the broadcast booth. Every time I hear a faint response, some garbled whisper or code on the line, I don't know if I'm hearing another survivor, or an echo meant to draw me out. I haven't heard from Imani in 4 days. Her last message was barely audible. Dish failing. Something inside. Don't trust anything human near the beams. Then static. No follow-up. I tried boosting signal strength to reach further north. Tried bouncing off the old high-rise repeaters. No luck. Most are dead. Some still hum, but not with our power. The resonance is off, like they're now feeding something else. I found a piece of her research, though. Before her line went dark, she sent me a diagram, not data, an image. A cross-section of Earth's mantle, overlaid with magnetic anomalies, recorded the last 2 weeks. The conclusion? The planet's rotation has slowed. By almost 7 seconds. That's not natural. That's not possible by tectonic shift alone. The only explanation is a massive redirection of planetary energy. Either they're using Earth's rotation as a generator, or they're trying to stop it altogether. Either way, it's death. The magnetic field is weakening. Aurora patterns have been reported as far south as Florida. Static discharges, midnight lightning with no storms, flocks of birds crashing from the sky, and most terrifying, compass needles spinning without stopping. There's no north anymore. I climbed a utility tower today, just for height. I wanted to see how far the mist went. From up there I could barely see the ground, but I could see the ships. 12 of them at least, spaced evenly across the skyline, hanging there like dark stars. I thought they weren't moving before, but now I realize they are. They're rotating, slowly, perfect circles, like turbines, cycling through extraction stages. One of them opened, not like a hatch, like a bloom. A central iris widened, and something came out, not a beam, a net. Wide, translucent, crawling with green light. It spread across the skyline, shimmered, and then retracted. Everything it touched vanished. No explosion, no heat. Just gone. That's when I understood. The beams aren't extraction tools. They're restraints, locks. While the real harvesters, the nets, do the work, we're being peeled from the surface layer by layer, not destroyed, separated, filtered. I'm still here, still transmitting. Because I don't know what else to do. I keep thinking about the old civilizations, Sumerians, Olmecs, the Indus Valley. All of them had spiral motifs. All of them vanished. Maybe they weren't wiped out. Maybe they were harvested. Maybe every few thousand years the directive activates, and a new cycle begins. And this time, we were the crop. The yield? I'm tired, but I'm not done. If there's a single ear left, a single mind still listening, I want this message to remain. We were not alone. And we were not prepared. This is Garrett Monroe, still beneath Houston, still trying, still telling the truth. May 1st. I lost track of time. I don't know how many days I was out. I think it's been 3, maybe 4. The lights died. The recorder shut down. Even the air was still. When I woke up, I was on the floor of the shelter, blood on my lip, cold sweat soaking through my clothes. I don't remember collapsing. I barely remember anything. But I remember the dream. No, that's not right. It wasn't a dream. They showed me something. Not with voices, not with pictures. With memory. My memory. They pulled it out like film strip, laid it across my mind frame by frame. Showed me images I hadn't seen in years. My brother Evan, in the 6th grade, holding a model rocket on the roof of our parents' house. The day I got the job at the Chronicle, and how I lied to my mother about what it paid. The moment I saw my father's body in that casket and pretended not to feel anything. Then they showed me things I never told anyone. The time I left a girl named Katie crying at a gas station on I-45 after she told me she was pregnant. I still remember the rain on the windshield, the way she tried to wipe her cheeks without looking at me, like she didn't want me to see how deeply I'd failed her. I said nothing. Just turned the key and drove off, headlights cutting through the dark as she shrank away in the mirror. I never checked back, never asked what happened, never answered the single text she sent me weeks later. Just 3 words. I kept it. That text stayed unread for years, buried under updates, promotions, and bank alerts. I deleted it when I switched phones. Not because I forgot, because I remembered too clearly. The night I hit a deer near Conroe. It wasn't even late, maybe 9:30, clear sky. I'd had 2 drinks, not enough to count, but enough to make me hesitate. The deer came out of nowhere, snapped the hood, cracked the passenger side mirror. I got out, looked at it, alive but broken, trying to breathe. I could have called someone, I could have done something, but I got back in the truck, drove off, and turned up the radio so I wouldn't hear the thud of its body falling over in my memory. It wasn't guilt that stopped me. It was inconvenience. That's what I've always been good at. Choosing the path of least resistance and calling it practicality. I've made 100 small decisions like that, the kind no one sees, no one remembers, the kind that rot you slowly from the inside out until you forget who you were before you started making them. At some point, I stopped measuring right and wrong, started measuring what was easy, what was safe, what kept the noise away. I'm not a good man, not brave, not selfless, just convenient, and they knew it. When they came to me, whatever they really are, they didn't speak, they didn't need to. I never saw a face, never heard a voice, but I felt it, like being submerged in warm water, like my thoughts weren't just mine anymore. They didn't force themselves in. They peeled me open gently, frame by frame, and watched. Not the big moments, not the headlines, not the war stories or the job titles or the awards on my office wall. No. They wanted the fractures, the quiet betrayals, the truths I buried and hoped would stay buried. They showed me my past like it was film projected on the inside of my skull. But it wasn't just images. It was feeling. They accessed not just the what, but the why. And every reason I had ever whispered to myself to justify the worst parts of me sounded childish in their presence. Every detail, every memory, every frequency of guilt. They didn't just observe. They cataloged me, indexed me, filed me away. Not to judge, not to punish, to preserve. Like I was a museum artifact, a broken bone from a forgotten species, a curiosity worth archiving before the earth was scrubbed clean. That's what broke me, not the fear, not the invasion, not even the knowledge of the end. It was the realization that these things know everything, Not just about us as a species in some abstract sociological way, but about each of us individually, personally, with a precision no god or ghost or algorithm has ever approached. They've mapped the human soul like a topographical scan. Not metaphorically, literally. They peel open identity like a geologist scrapes away sediment layers. They understand you from the inside out. Your regrets, your repressed memories, your smallest cruelties. Not because they feel anything about them, but because it's data, all of it. They don't care what they find. They don't feel what we feel. You're not good or bad to them. You're not heroic or cowardly or noble or shameful. You're just data. Just another cross-section in the harvest. Like biomass logged and tagged in a processing center. Identity to them is no different from isotope variation in a mineral vein. Something to scan, store, analyze. Not because it matters, because it's there. That was the true horror, not destruction. Indifference. I don't know how long I was out. Seconds, minutes, maybe hours. I came to on the floor of the shelter, palms cold, jaw aching like I'd been gritting my teeth the whole time. The emergency lanterns had died. The air smelled like rust and ozone. And the lights, when they flickered back on, they didn't flicker. They pulsed. In a rhythm, 7 seconds on, 1 second off. Then again. Same as the beams. My watch was dead. Completely unresponsive. Even the backup capacitor didn't tick. The walls around me were humming again, but deeper now. Lower frequency. It didn't feel like machinery anymore. It felt biological, like a living organ powering up. I crawled to the transmitter, tried to re-establish my own broadcast signal, but it wasn't dead. It was broadcasting. And not on my channel. Not on any frequency I'd programmed. The rig had been hijacked. At first I thought it was interference, feedback loop, maybe old logs replaying from buffer. But then I listened. Closer. It was me. My voice. Not a recording I recognized. Not words I remembered saying. The tone was mine, the cadence. But the sentences were wrong, disjointed, almost reversed. A mix of past transmissions scrambled and played backward, fragmented and looped. Like something was mimicking me, studying how I speak, what I sound like, as if the signal was using my own voice to test its range, or worse, to replace me. I reached for the cutoff switch, but the transmission didn't stop. The button didn't work. The console lights changed. Faint pulses of green and white cycling through a pattern that mirrored the heartbeat I'd felt in the air. And then silence. Not dead silence. Engineered silence. The kind that follows after something's been taken. I sat there for what felt like hours, not moving, not thinking, just existing in a space where my own voice no longer belonged to me. That was the moment I knew I wasn't the only one speaking anymore. I listened. The voice on the line was mine, not a recording live. Repeating the words I spoke days ago, but in reverse, like some algorithm was pulling my sentences apart and stringing them back together, syllable by syllable, looped through layers of static. Then the signal cut, and the wall beside the transmitter cracked, just slightly. That was enough. I packed everything I could carry, a small case of batteries, the hand crank recorder, a backup radio kit, 2 cans of food, a half-filled thermos of filtered water, a scarf, the maps. The last remaining photo of Evan I kept inside my notebook. I left the shelter at sunrise. I didn't look back. Downtown Houston is no longer a city. It's a shell suspended in green light, not glowing bleeding. The buildings are still standing, but the color is leaching out of everything. Pavement has a yellow-gray sheen. Cars are pale, ghost-like. Even the sky has lost its blue. The ships are closer now. I can see the detail in their hulls, ribbed texture, almost organic, like the shell of a deep-sea creature, fused with machinery. They don't move, they just spin, waiting. I moved north, sticking to alleys and service roads, past White Oak Bayou, through Woodland Heights. I saw no one, not a bird, not a rat, nothing. Just the hum. It's in the trees, in the asphalt. Every cell tower buzzes like a tuning fork, even the ones that collapsed. Late afternoon, I reached an old steel foundry on the outskirts of Independence Heights. The building was half buried, its roof folded inward like soft metal, but inside, shelter, concrete walls. An emergency stairwell that goes underground. I checked every door, every grate, every vent. I found a dry corner and rebuilt my transmitter using the backup rig. That's where I am now. Still broadcasting, but now I'm moving. Not just physically, in purpose. I think I understand why they showed me what they did. Not to torment. To remind me what we are, what we've always been. A species of selfish, frightened survivors. Stumbling forward in the dark, pretending we matter in the scale of galaxies. But here's the truth they don't understand. We do matter. Not because we're strong. Because we remember. We leave echoes. In radios, in film, in the dark corners of the internet, in scrapbooks and bunker walls and cracked vinyl records. Even if they turn Earth into a husk of ash and clay, someone, something, might find this voice and know we were here, we fought, we told our stories. We burned our names into the static. This is Garrett Monroe. I'm no longer in the Chronicle shelter. I'm no longer hiding. This is transmission from Site 2. Still beneath Houston. Still resisting. Still human. May 4th. I've re-established full signal strength from the Foundry shelter. The transmitter's been rerouted through an old broadcast amp I stripped out of a gutted news van. It's dirty, unstable, but it's loud. If you're anywhere within 50 miles of Houston, you'll hear me now. I don't care if they hear me too. Maybe I want them to. It's strange how quickly you can start to feel safe in a new hole in the ground. The Foundry's basement is damp, but it's solid. Reinforced with thick concrete and old steel beams. No rot, no windows. Just the occasional groan of what's above. The ships, the mist, the frequency. I've built a new relay station here. Something more deliberate. The signal isn't just outbound anymore. I'm recording everything. Echoes of the alien pulse, electromagnetic shifts, seismic vibrations. The hum in the walls has changed. It's lower now, slower. The patterns become more complex. I ran it through an old spectrogram again and found embedded frequencies, coded layers that resemble sonar maps, not just tones, but topography. I believe they're mapping the inside of the planet now, not scanning. Scanning implies curiosity. This is confirmation, like a surveyor revisiting a site he already owns. I tracked one of their beam impacts yesterday. It hit just south of Lake Livingston. From my rooftop position, I could see the light curve inward, more of a sphere than a beam. It swallowed everything within a 5-mile radius. Roads folded like ribbon. Trees fell without sound. When it cleared, there was nothing, not even dirt. Just a pit, filled with shimmering air. At the bottom, a symbol. Their symbol. Perfectly carved into the earth like a brand. They're marking their progress, etching their claim into the crust as they move. This isn't war. This is accounting. I left the shelter again this morning, against every part of me that said not to. I had to retrieve one last piece of equipment, a high-frequency radio unit from the Heights fire station. I'd been there once, years ago, for a hurricane recovery interview. I remembered the layout. The building was gone, not destroyed, peeled back. The steel girders were standing like skeleton ribs. Inside there was movement. Not them. Something else. Small figures, fast. Almost human in shape, but hunched and hairless. Their skin looked translucent in the green light, and they moved like they didn't feel gravity at all. Their eyes were hollow, mouthless. But their hands were human. I froze. Watched them pick through the remains of a first aid locker, running their long fingers over gauze, syringes, bottles of antiseptic. They weren't looting. They were studying. One of them turned toward me, and I swear it recognized something. Maybe not me, but the fear in me. It didn't chase, just tilted its head, then slid into a vent and vanished. I got the unit, hauled it back to the shelter. Took me 6 hours. Almost passed out halfway through. Whatever's in the air now, it's not breathable in the long term. Feels like breathing through a wet rag filled with metal shavings. I can't stay here forever. The thought keeps circling in my head. I don't think they'll let me. There's a timer in my blood now. I feel it. Like something's counting down. Not to death, but to change. I cough more. My nails have turned slightly gray. When I look at my skin in certain lights, I swear I see veins glowing faintly beneath the surface. I don't think I was meant to survive this long. Maybe the others who vanished didn't die. Maybe they converted. No body, no blood, no trace. Just repurposed. Folded into the harvest. Rebuilt into the machines. Used to drive the process forward. There are stories I've avoided telling. Things I saw in the early days. Bodies lifted in the green beams. Not screaming, but singing. Not a sound I can describe. A harmony without melody. A feeling without sound. The way a tuning fork resonates through your ribs. I thought they were dying. Now I wonder if they were ascending. The survivors I used to contact, they're all quiet now. Not just offline, erased. No response, no background interference, not even static where their signals used to be. Just empty spectrum, clean as glass. That's not natural. That's intentional. I think I'm one of the last voices left, and that voice is starting to crack. Not from fear, from understanding. We always thought an invasion would come with fire and noise, cities burning, people fighting, resistance. But this is what extinction really looks like. Silent. Clean. Precise? You don't feel the sky falling until it's already folded over you. You don't hear the earth cry until your own thoughts stop being your own. I have one more message to send. Not now, not yet. But soon. I've loaded every recording, every map, every frequency scan into the drive inside this transmitter. If I go silent, if you hear only noise, you'll know what happened. And if you find this signal buried in the ruins beneath the ash, among the bones of the world, then play it loud. Make them remember us. This is Garrett Monroe, still beneath Houston. But not for long. May 6th. I've sealed the shelter. All vents closed, doors welded. The transmitter's still running, barely. Power is intermittent now. The generator stutters when the mist thickens outside. I think it interferes with the air density, or the charge. Or maybe it's just a side effect of the process reaching its end. Because that's what this is. The end? It's not theoretical anymore. I can feel it in my chest. The pulse is faster, stronger. I wake up with my ears bleeding. My thoughts skip. I say things out loud I don't remember thinking. The signal isn't just in the air now. It's in me. Last night I slept for maybe 20 minutes. I dreamed of water. Deep water. And something alive beneath it, wide and slow, with eyes like sonar and a body like the sky. It opened something. Not a mouth, not a doorway, and sang. A low, slow harmony that vibrated the seabed apart. And in that song were names. Names I'd never heard but recognized anyway. Names from before us. When I woke, the shelter walls were warm to the touch. The metal was humming. My radio was on, though I hadn't powered it. And the frequency had changed. It wasn't mine anymore. Someone else was broadcasting. At first, I thought it was a survivor. A real voice, deep male tone, calm and clipped. But it was speaking in perfect English, no trace of accent like the way digital assistants sound when they try too hard to imitate human pacing. It said, "You have been cataloged. You are not alone. You were never alone." Then silence. The same message repeated, 7 times. On a loop. Every time it played, the lights dimmed. My skin felt thinner. My bones ached. Then during the 8th cycle, the voice stopped halfway through. Cut off. Replaced by something else. A static burst. Harsh. Raw. But underneath it, layered in noise, my voice. I couldn't tell if it was playback or something I hadn't said yet. It whispered, "We are still speaking." And then it all stopped. Everything. No lights. No pulse. No hum. Just dead silence. I thought the generator had finally failed, but the room was still powered. The silence wasn't from loss. It was imposed, engineered, like something outside the shelter had pressed down on the world and told it to stop. I haven't heard the ships today. That should be a relief, but it's worse, because now I can hear what's beneath them. Not machines, not engines, breathing. Deep, measured, rhythmic, like something enormous, just below the surface, inhaling the final fumes of a dying planet. I don't think I'm going to move again. There's nowhere left to go. No one left to speak to. I've placed all recordings, every log, every map, every frequency capture, onto the drive. Encrypted, labeled, indexed. If you find this transmission, if you're something that can understand what we were, then remember this. We knew. In the final hours, we knew. And we spoke anyway, not to beg, not to stop you. But to record, we left a voice behind. One voice, mine. Garrett Monroe, last known survivor beneath Houston.